I think for what it's worth, many of you should be moderators of this now or whatever it's called in Zoom. So if I'm forever ever not here, you can record it yourself. But let's get started. As I pull up the notes.
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing.
Actually, for posterity, for those of you watching this in the future, it is, for some of us, June 17th, for others, June 18th. And this is the Plan Stage weekly team meeting.
Cool. Thanks, Justin.
Yeah.
Flory, you want to lead things off with the demo of Epics on swim lanes?
Yeah, I'll just share my screen. Can everyone see the boards?
Yes.
Okay, so in the last iteration, so I'm just going to switch to group by epic. In the last iteration, I basically just added loading epics and just displaying the basic information about it, if it's open or closed, the title, and how many issues it contains. And that's basically all I've done last iteration. I don't think we had a meeting last week. The previous one was adding just the headers for boards, which is now shared with the normal board headers. It's the same component, basically. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Any questions?
It's looking good.
Yeah, this is great.
Okay, well, I'll hand it over to Yoyan, I guess.
So, hello everyone. Let me share my screen.
First demo, don't mess up.
Okay, I think I'm already messing up. Sharing screen. God. I'm sorry, how did I do it, sharing screen? Oh yeah, it's right here, the button.
Big one in the middle at the bottom.
Yes.
But it does give you a lot of options, so it can be intimidating. You don't want to share the wrong thing.
Yes, can everyone see?
Yes.
Yeah, so I took up an issue that's about a new feature. So this feature I'm working on, it allows you to actually collapse and expand the milestone list in the roadmap page. This feature was proposed by I think Keenan and Alexis. So the demo is only going to last 3 seconds, so don't be disappointed. So we have a lot of milestones here. I artificially created them, and then you can collapse them, and then you can expand them. And also this tooltip right here, it wasn't there. I'm going to add them to those epic chevrons as well. So yeah, that's it.
That's awesome. If you go look at the milestones on GitLab.org or GitLab.com,
yeah,
you'll know why this is going to be a much welcomed feature.
Yes, yeah, on that I completely understand.
Because 5 milestones or however many you have here is not a lot, but like 50 is quite a bit.
Yes, yeah, there's going to be like thousands of them. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
so that's awesome, and I love the tooltip. That's great.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's still buggy, but yeah, I'll get it fixed today. So, yep.
Do we have that tooltip for the other arrows, or is that just
yes?
For
That's
milestones?
I will be adding them to the other arrows as well. Yeah, so that's part of the MR. Yeah.
Okay, we should check with Alexis.
Yes. Yeah.
Just because I don't know what their feeling is on. I think it's helpful, but I don't know if UX would feel the same way in something that should be fairly intuitive. Like if you see an arrow, you're going to assume that it should either collapse or expand.
Yep.
So
just adding my 2 cents on this. Alexis actually required the tooltips on the chevron. So.
Oh really?
Cool. Yeah.
Then perfect.
That was the thing. Like the question is, do we add them? I'm like, does Alexis want them? Yes. So we add them.
My very first question. So.
Yeah.
Great. That's awesome.
Yeah, and just to reiterate what Justin said, like sure, it seems like a small,
Mhm.
or at least a small demo, but it's people are going to love it, especially anyone looking at GitLab org milestone or roadmaps, because there are a lot of milestones on there.
Yep. Thanks.
Cool. Any other questions?
Nope.
Awesome. All right, I will demo for Scott iterations on the sidebar, because I don't think there's been an MR at least for it for a bit, but I don't think we ever actually demoed it. And the MR was merged a few days ago, and it should be on GitLab.com now, or at least Canary. But I'm actually going to test it or demo it on staging, because we have not. There's one feature flag MR that's going through that hasn't quite made it to production yet. All right. Okay, so on staging, just in an issue on GitLab.com or GitLab/com group. Actually, I'm in the right one. Okay, so you see how we have iterations on the side here, right under milestones. We can edit it. Oh, let's test everything out and see if we can actually create an iteration and then show it within an issue. Simon, this gonna work? It's gonna work beautifully,
in theory.
Right? All right, let's see.
Theory and practice.
If I can.
You need to go to the group page. You're on project page.
I am.
It's only on groups.
We put it on Git. Which should we turn it on for? That one? No.
Yeah, it's on this one.
So that was within a subgroup.
On geo info. Oh, this doesn't have the other feature flag. One moment. I can enable it.
All right.
Over for me. It's on com/info, right?
Yeah, GL info.
Okay. Coming right up.
But I thought we only turned it on for, I thought we turned group iterations on for GitLab com.
No, I did that for org, I think.
Okay.
I know we did, and it just doesn't include subgroups.
I thought it did, but this one
So
was
did I.
showing it within the issues. All right, so we're not going to test the whole thing, but you can see iterations on the sidebar, and then you'll be able to edit it. It'll show the iterations there similarly to milestones. You pick it and then just like selecting a milestone, but it'll be under iteration. That's that. As far as progress on iterations, like I said, we're working on that feature flag part that should have made it into 13.1, which will be good. It'll just be one feature flag that users will have to turn on to get pretty much everything for the MVC outside of the ability to edit in iteration, which should come in the next couple days. Questions? Stop share. Cool. And who's up next?
I think I am for the next two. This one, I don't need to make everyone watch a YouTube video, but I'd suggest you watch that. This is Mark doing kind of an end-to-end demo of traceability for requirements management, which is all buttoned up and shipping in 13.1, which is super exciting. He's also going to make a video of like a more, I guess, realistic scenario of what a customer might do, where he configures a bunch of like dummy tests that pipe into or like culminate in a pass or fail to satisfy the requirement, which is super cool. And it's just been awesome to see us take a thing that didn't exist in like 2 months ago, and like deliver a new category and then iterate on it really quickly. So I thought I'd share that. If you haven't seen it yet, watch that video, and we'll I'm sure he'll share the other one when he makes it in the plan room. So the next one, unless there's any questions there. So this was from last week, but we had Eric join us for an AMA on Atlassian stuff. But Gabe and I he and I were talking about this. We're kind of wondering, like, is there a better way to communicate blockers during stand-up? And I'll elaborate what we mean here. Because we were looking around and realized that to-dos can be a mess. So we all have a lot of to-dos, and it's hard to sort of see or like weight the to-dos. Like, you know, from a PM perspective, the question is always lurking in the back of our minds. Like, is an engineer blocked on an answer to a question that a PM needs to answer, and it's buried in a to-do that the PM's not seeing for a couple of days? And if we're all in different time zones, like, that's detrimental. Where if it's, say, like Charlie or Flory has a question and like Gabe doesn't see it tomorrow or I don't see it tomorrow, then they're waiting 2 days or 3 days or whatever, right? So the proxy for that has always been, okay, well, you can surface that in your stand-up response to stand-up bot or whatever. But oftentimes, at least when I scan them, it's like there are no real blockers. And I think that's a reflection of, like, you can unblock yourself and find things to do. But PMs, we want to be better at, as quickly as possible, like responding to open questions. So this is an open question. Like, are there better ways we can, as a team, surface when we're blocked or when we have questions? Probably the better answer is like solve to-dos for GitLab in general. But in lieu of that, are there things we could do that can, I guess, raise the flag more quickly and more obviously?
That's a good question. In lieu of us fixing to-dos or building out to-dos to be a little bit more extensive, I've started to do something that I think Walmer and Mech showed us around email. And I think John does the same thing too. But anytime we are mentioned in a GitLab issue, we add a label in Gmail that kind of filters that up as something that is high priority. So every day I just go through my emails and see anything that I had been mentioned and go through and respond there. And that's been working for me so far. I don't know how it worked for product managers because I assume you all get more notifications than, or more mentions than I do. So I don't know if that would resolve it for you all.
I use some Gmail labels. So
what was that?
I have a few Gmail labels that I have. One is review,
yeah.
One is opinion, and one is blocking. So like I add like review or like review is just review. But if it's like someone's like, oh, what do you think, backend maintainers? Then, like, you know, people are kind of going back and forth, and I can sort of follow the discussion going, okay, what I think is actually being expressed here, so I can just like click a thumb up or something. But there are some things where it's like, oh, what do you think? What should we do, Charlie? And then, like, nothing happens unless I come in and, you know, it feels like there's on the discussion level, hey, what should we do, Charlie? And then, like, it waits and it's like assigned to someone else. So hey, I'm blocked on this, I need you to do something. It's like, okay, I'm just going to assign you. You know, and assignment actually means, hey, there's a thing that you need to do on this before it can get done. But even then, it's like, assignments can mean lots of things. So, I mean, that's one way of communicating a blockage. But is there like a more, I don't know, high bandwidth way of saying, hey, this is blocking or something? I don't know. Yeah. It's general questions about how we block things or how things are communicated to be blocked.
Yeah, that's a great question or a great idea on like assignees or something like it that indicates. Assignees are used for many different things, huh? But the Gmail filter is clever, I guess, as a boring, tiny iteration solution.
Well, also, like, are there issues where things are like, have you and Gabe run into issues where you are, or someone is blocked waiting on answers from either you or Gabe, and they haven't gotten one because they've expected something within GitLab? Because I feel like for the most part, like if I'm blocked by something and it requires like a quick response, then I'll shoot a Slack message somewhere in one of our channels. Has that not been happening?
Yeah, no, that happens really well, I've noticed. And I can't speak for Gabe, but he can follow up with all of us later when he watches this. But when we have like feature rooms, like, you know, our various features that we're working on, time boxes, iterations, whatever, issue types, like that's a pretty good place where I see that happening pretty regularly. Where it doesn't happen likely is like the smaller things we're doing that don't have like a dedicated room, right? I think I can't speak for Gabe if that happens like in direct messages or ad hoc. But yeah, I think Slack is a good solution, and I mean, I'm open to that being the answer. Like, hey, just ping us in Slack, and that's pretty loud and high signal to noise ratio of getting someone's attention. I guess the other piece too is that blocked can mean a lot of things, right? Like, I doubt many people are like hard blocked by a given question. Like, there's plenty of work that we're doing, and even if you're working on, say, swim lanes, and you're blocked by a question if we should do something with a button or whatever, like there's plenty of work, Flory, that you could go do, right, to keep going on swim lanes. But I think the PMs want to over rotate on, in a good way, on like being quick to answer questions, because that might unblock or unlock other decisions or other design considerations that we might make as we build a feature, right? So it's more just reacting as quickly as possible than being worried that we're truly a blocker to the progress of anything, right?
I guess.
Go ahead.
When you were saying that, you know, you ping on Slack, and are you meaning a direct message, or are you meaning like? So
I don't know, because I don't like work on the individual things, right? But what I've observed is that happens really organically and consistently when we have the feature channels for a given feature. I don't know if that happens as consistently for items we're working on that doesn't have a dedicated channel.
So an example is reviews. So a review does block, because if I don't get round to review, that review doesn't go anywhere, unless the other person, the author, might give up and say, okay, Charlie is OOO. Hey, other person, can you please review? And that's fine, right? There's nothing wrong with that, and certainly there's no shame in it. But some people tend to. I like to, clean up my reviews so nobody's waiting if I go out of office. But sometimes that's just not practical, or somebody does it. Before my OOO actually kicks in, like when I'm asleep, they'll assign me something, and then I just don't I never see it. But somebody might ping me, and this has happened. Full transparency. Hey, just so you know, this is still like waiting for your review. If you don't want me to, if you want me to assign to someone else, that's fine. If you're too busy or something. So there are ways to say, this is blocked and waiting for you, but also, hello, you didn't forget about it, did you? Kind of thing. So there's like kind of a urgency of blocked. It's like, it's now blocked by this person, and then it's like, okay, this is still blocked, and you're kind of wanting an update, I guess. So several sort of, as you say, there's several ways that something can be blocked, but then there's also various levels of, like, this is now freshly blocked, or this has been like blocked for a week. What's happening?
It's very stale. Yeah.
It's like stale block. So it's sort of thinking on the various levels of communications needed. And to me, like a little sort of shoulder tap, hey, did you forget about this, is a 1-1 that I wouldn't do that publicly, because to me that's a negative thing. Like, it's like potentially embarrassing. So I would definitely do a 1-1. I don't know. It's sort of various ways to think about that.
Sorry, I'm just capturing notes. So I think from my perspective, like, the email filter is a clever idea. I think Gabe doesn't like email, but I don't get any emails at GitLab that are like real emails, as opposed to old jobs where I got a lot of emails that were quote unquote real emails. So I think that's a fine solution for me. I think in lieu of that, the Slack is a great solution. And I like Charlie's suggestion of escalation or appropriate use of it, where it's like post it in a feature room or in the plan team room. And if it's something where you're stale, it's maybe more appropriate to pester that person in a direct message if you're really waiting on them.
Yeah, because I feel like for this, we need to account for not just us within the team, like bubbling up blockers, but like when community members or other people have something that's blocked, I think their go-to is to @mention someone. So like, how do we, unless we do something on the to-do side or on the figuring out a way to escalate that anytime you're mentioned, escalating that to the top of your to-dos. Like I think we're still gonna have, we're still gonna have to figure something out there.
Yeah.
That's why I like the for now, the email approach. And I know a lot of people within the organization included in their status that if something is really important, make sure to @mention me. And I don't know if they're using to-dos, and then they just have a smaller, like to-dos at a smaller scale, so it's not that big of a deal. And they can just use to-dos for the purpose that to-dos were originally meant for. But I know, others are doing the same thing where they're signified that, or they are acknowledged in a blocking way by using @mentions. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So clicking a pen or something? Sorry.
I hear that.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'm clicking a pen. Wow, these things are picking stuff up today.
It's a good microphone.
Sorry, but, like, I didn't want to embarrass anyone, but I was like, that noise is very distracting.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry. It feels really bad. All right.
Anytime, I always have to be clicking something, or I should just keep everything away from my desk.
It's okay. I fiddle with things too. I just don't have noise making things that I fiddle with.
It's like Sleep Buddy or something.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I guess going up to point to Donald's point about like the feature channel, and then S-plan to me is like, it's kind of, it used to just be like plan the room, and now it's like the feature room of plan, and kind of, a lot of external people write stuff in there and that sort of thing, and we put the kickoffs in there and stuff. And then we have the S-plan front end and back end. So I don't think we need a product channel or something, but it's like S-plan. Is it really clear in the channel description that this is like the plan room? Ask your product questions or or if you have a back end question or a front end question, here are the other ones. Like, so it's. I mean, this isn't really answering the question. It's more like.
No, that's a good question. It's a good sub question. I mean, there's the plan PM room too, which again is like not. I don't know if we have a clear description and purpose for what that room is supposed to be for as well. Yeah, I don't know if we need it. If the right answer is another room, or you just direct it to front end or back end. And as long as I think you're muted, Charlie. And as long as you tag people.
Yeah. I think just the front end, back end rooms are just, if you need to talk to anyone in front end, back end. And then the S-plan room is just sort of a generalized, like if you have questions about plan, whatever.
You get salespeople drop in there and whatnot, right?
It's cool to see lots of engagement from folks from other teams kind of dropping in and talking about features and stuff. I really like that.
Mm-hmm.
But now I know there's a secret PM room. So.
It's not secret.
It's not a secret, you say.
There's plan.
Secret to me. I didn't know about it.
There's plan PM.
Cool.
Which is not following the same delimiter as the rest of GitLab, but it's there. We should actually change it. But it's plan hyphen.
Wait, so what's the purpose of Plan PM? Because there's 20 people in that.
I don't
I thought
know.
most of the product related plan stuff happens in S Plan.
I don't know. Keenan created the channel in September before I started. So,
There's a UX room as well.
and there's no like a description. I guess the description is a space to chat with Plan PMs. It's our own like water cooler, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, I'm invading this room now. Okay, great.
You can join. It's open. I mean, please come. But yeah, I don't know if it's more of a grab bag catch-all room than it is a scoped, focused thing where interesting things happen.
Nice.
Can you, Donald or Charlie, whoever do you mind sharing? Actually, I'll just ask the question you put in here. Did you use just a string match for your Gmail filter, or is there some special magic that I don't know about in Gmail?
Oh, there's special magic.
That lets you like parse data or something.
Watch the video. It's fairly short.
Oh, you put a video. Okay. Oh,
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Okay.
That Walmer and Mech put together.
Oh, perfect.
That shows how, and I use the same thing they did.
Cool.
Like filtering system.
Not use a filter mostly because I want to look at the emails and see what they're. I take a quick look at the review. If it's a very small review, I'll just do it. But if it's a bigger one, I'll just triage it and check it back on my unread list. So I generally don't have any unread emails, and the only ones that are there are, when I say triage, you know what I mean, like sort of sorted and categorized. So I don't actually want to use a filter because I want to make sure that I actually look at them and I don't forget about them. That's my magic, my brain.
Yeah, so I just really glance through issues that I am not directly mentioned at some point throughout the issue. Because I don't know why I have auto notification on, but I get so many issues in there that all the stuff where I am actually notified in, I would lose them, or I would spend all day trying to get to inbox 0.
You have auto notifications on for GitLab org or for the GitLab project?
No, I just get too many emails. I don't know what my notification.
And now it's Day reading emails, and he's like, "All right, I've almost started."
I wonder if maybe when I first started, I set to be notified on all plan issues, or maybe I just get pinged
You might
on
be
a lot of
subscribed
issues.
to a label or something.
Yeah, could be that. I should check that. Cool. We good on covering that, Justin?
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's great. I think that's perfect for now. And eventually we will get to revamping to-dos so that we can solve this problem in the product. But I think it's a ways out, I feel like, compared to what the rest of the priorities we have. Well, relatively speaking, I mean, I don't see us getting to it until at least the fall at the earliest. So,
because it feels like
I can't speak for Gabe. He might have different plans, so I don't want to put words in his mouth, but that's my assumption.
That makes sense. Okay, real quick, let me go through goals for the next week for the front end team. First one we have is for the, oh, no, actually, did I not put it on the agenda? Okay, as we're talking about the Jira importer, I had a question that came up. So we're working on right now, and Charlie, maybe you can help with answering this one because I think you were pinged on the issue due to your GraphQL work. But with the user mapping, the idea was to get all of the GitLab users within that project, all of the Jira users within the Jira project. And actually the Jira users would be on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side would be a drop-down for each of those users that showed every single GitLab user within that project. That was the idea for the first iteration. We weren't going to do any kind of autocomplete or auto mapping. Fortunately, we found some issues with the GraphQL API to get GitLab members within a project.
Yes.
And that's in the issue that I swore I linked it somewhere.
I remember there being like a limit, and I was like, how do I get everybody?
Yeah.
Like, that's not a good idea to get everybody, because it's like, to bring down the server. But I mean, we have accessible in place, but we can.
Yeah. So we do the same thing right now for epics within Roadmap. I think the limit's like 2,000, which is.
Yes. I think I found the line where that is.
Yeah. Which I feel like that's a little bit more complex than getting GitLab members, or maybe not. But so there's that. There's also issues in that, and I think this is just a bug with that API, in that we're only returning the first 11, so we're not even getting the first 100 when we try. So I think that's something we have to fix on the back end. So there's those things. We can either fix those, bump up the limit, and I don't know if, like, and we should figure this out. We should be able to do a query, but I don't know if 2,000 would be enough to account for the majority of members within projects. That being said, if someone is going in there and manually mapping 2,000 users, I don't think anyone's going to actually do that.
And you could do something like map these users, and then you go on to the next bit and you map those users, like you do it page by page or something. Like, then, you know, I mean, you could, but then you could start, you know, not including the ones you've already mapped or something. I mean, I haven't even thought about it from a product perspective or anything, but I thought, like, from an engineering perspective, it's like you could do it that way. But I mean, does someone want to scroll down and like look for 2,000 people, like, you know, 2,000 people to whatever? It's it sounds tricky.
I don't.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to do that.
This might not be in scope for the next iteration, but my perspective from like a design standpoint is we should try and auto match and then only surface the ones that don't match. Assumption being you're going to have a lot less, then hopefully you only have like less than 100 if you're a big company. And then you only have to worry about rendering or paging through one or two, right? And we don't have to do crazy things to increase limits, but.
I think the first 11 one, I think that was a pagination bug, the GraphQL pagination bug that we had.
Was it? Is that
the
resolved?
No, we've had a few issues with the key set pagination that, you know, you're like, give me the first whatever, and then it was like not doing that. And there's been a couple, and that's just, you know, we're ironing out the wrinkles in that. But I think we're pretty close now. But I think I've seen that issue. Yeah, I'll have a look.
Yeah. So there was that one where you asked for the first like 11, and it was returning 5, I think. But then there was also one where you don't include first, so you just request everything, and it was only returning 2, I think. So there were 2 issues there. I don't know if either of those or which ones have been resolved yet. But so because we also have assignees that gets the project members using search. So we could technically implement the drop down using that, and I think that's our REST API. But I don't know if we want to, like, if we should go with that approach, and then we may have to eventually rewrite it to use GraphQL, or if we just wait and kind of work out these GraphQL issues for now. Like, if we just wait a couple of weeks and see if those get resolved. I don't know what the best approach is.
I found the exact issue, so I'll just chuck it into the.
Yeah, so it's D on 3D is where I had the link to this. Oh, you put it on. Nice. Okay, I'll move.
There you go. Oh, I see it.
Oh yeah, sorry, I was.
No, that was my fault. I skipped it, but Okay, so we'll just continue the conversation within that issue and figure out what kind of our next steps are going to be. Cool. Okay. So going back to the goals, we do want to hopefully complete that, but it does depend on what we decide for that second drop down. For iterations, hope is to finish issues and counts, and then get that into. And Simon, I don't know if we talked about this in our one-on-one. Are you okay with that? With that goal? Issues and counts. Okay, perfect. So yeah, on the iterations report view, and then we also should have the epic, or not the epic, the edit iterations done by next week. Actually, within the next few days, probably. Filtered search. So there were a couple issues that getting GitLab, the GitLab UI component for filtered search within our search pages. There were a couple blockers. This is one of them, adding the ability to select the color for the background for tokens, so we could use labels. We're gonna work on that one, should have that complete by next week. And then I think once that's done, we should be at a place where we can start fully implementing that GitLab UI component, which will be good. Finally, the view issuable list that we've been talking about, that refactor from Haml to view, should be on for both the group issue page and the project issue page by next week.
Awesome.
Those are our goals. Questions?
Sounds good.
Cool. I just realized I had the pen in my hand again. I hope I was not clicking it while I was talking.
You withheld.
Oh,
You did. It was
subconsciously.
Congratulations.
I think it's a different pen, so maybe it's just a quieter one. All right, Justin, you want to take the last point?
Sure. Yeah. I guess, yeah, I can just read it. We hadn't talked about this, but yeah, what's the best way to dog food iterations once they're available? I guess we should probably start with the plan team to figure out and work out the kinks and use it.
What's do we have a, like, I mean, we know that they're different from milestones and the different, so I did a lecture for Victoria University at Wellington, and one of the questions was, what's the difference between epics and milestones? And, you know, I explained that one was kind of vaguely chronological and the other one was more thematic. How can you put in one word, like, how iterations is different from that, and then how we would maybe use it?
Yeah. So I'll give you the answer from jobs I've had in the past using Jira. But an iteration, or what we call the sprint, was actually very similar to what Donald lists for goals for the front end team, which is what can we accomplish in a very smaller, much smaller than a milestone time box. So let's say 2 weeks or 1 week. How much can we get done between today and then? And do we want to set goals to see if we can achieve these things by that time? It's much more narrowly scoped. Ideally, the things you commit to doing in that iteration are already broken down and have relative sizing or costing associated with them. So you think, oh, this will take me 1 or 2 points or whatever, right? But it's really the shorter iteration cycle. And you could have many in our world, you could have many in a milestone. You could have 4 in a milestone, or you could have 2 in a milestone, right? And every organization does it differently. So like in past jobs, our version of milestone was a release. That release, when I first started at the company I worked at in the past, that release only happened once every 2 months. And so then you'd have a bunch of sprints that made up your work leading up to that big release event. That was terrible. We eventually released daily. But the sprints, the iterations on that 2 week cadence still happened irregardless of what we decoupled the actual releasing part, the milestone, from the sprint iteration part, which was a much improved world to live in. But anyway, so that's, I don't know if that answers your question. I did it in more than one sentence.
No, it's good. It's good. Yeah, it was more than one word, but that's okay. There's lots of words. Okay, more words.
Well, the one word would be sprints.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought that like milestone was more like a kind of it's like a time scope, and then whatever gets in that gets in that. Whereas this is more like a goal, right? The goal is not the day. The goal is the scope, rather than the scope changing. You know, and it's kind of like the vague difference between burn down and burn up. It's like kind of the same thing, but not.
Yep.
And it's the way that you think about it that makes it different and valuable. Yeah, and I mean, as you say, like in Agile, like there's like a million ways to do everything. So, you know, you kind of pick something that works for you and how you think about it and how you apply all these different ways of doing things in a way that works for you and your team. So, I mean, in terms of iterations, like we're talking about themes, right? Features by themes.
Yeah.
So if we picked a theme and we had an iteration within that theme, and we said for whatever, like requirements management or something, what can we get done this week for that particular thing? And maybe we just have like whoever working on it focuses on that thing for that iteration.
Yep.
And so we can be like, what can we do in requirements management in the next 5 days? And then that's like requirements management sprint. And then at the end of it, they can go and work on other stuff. I don't know, maybe that's something.
Yep. No, that's it. I mean, that's, yes, at a high level, that's basically it.
Okay, great. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Right?
There's a funny bit that, I don't know if it's an XKCD or something, but where that basically happened, and then an engineer, so it was just floating around in Slack recently, I'll find it and send it to you, but
Sure.
An engineer completed the work that they thought that they could accomplish in the sprint, in the iteration, but got it done early, like in 10 days, and maybe there were 14 days in the entire iteration. And so they asked their PM or whatever, like, hey, is there something else I can pick up? And because the way sprints work is or iterations work is you usually plan on this very strict time boxed 2-week cadence or 1-week cadence. They didn't want to like blow up the sprint system to like allow that engineer to pick up more work. So that engineer basically got like a few days off because there wasn't anything new to do until the next sprint started.
What the backlog is for.
But that's kind of yes, but that's in the Agile, like you said, you put it very well, Charlie, like Agile, there's a million ways to do Agile. But I suppose in the textbook definition, it's like, and this actually might be an interesting thing to talk about. Traditionally, iterations or sprints require synchronous sprint planning, and sometimes like planning poker to break down the work you intend to do, and then order and make sure you have enough work that fills that time box. And that happens traditionally, at least, in a synchronous manner. And then everyone like puts their hands in the middle and like starts or whatever the sprint. And then 2 weeks later you reconvene and you do your retrospective. And so we'd have to figure out how to do that asynchronously if we do this, which I think we can, and we kind of already are, loosely through goals and things like that. So, but that's some context that's worth sharing.
Great. What you described, which was you do like 2-week sprints. The trouble with I struggle with the word sprint, because sprint is like you're running really fast, right? And then you need a rest. And it's like
I need to train myself to not use that word. Yeah, I need to train myself to not use that word. In fact, I think we put in the handbook intentionally like calling out we want these to be called iterations, and organizations will call them what they call them, but iterations is the term we want to use.
Iteration is like, what do we do in this iteration and the next iteration, whatever. But of course, when we talk about an iteration with a capital I, then we're like, oh, this is the first iteration.
I know.
Of whatever. Yeah. So it's like, sorry, I'm monologuing.
Yep. No, you're right.
I'm just going to mute myself.
So I guess once we have it, we can maybe start with that, what Charlie, what you proposed, and then kind of go from there. And we should, I mean, we should get feedback too from, maybe we cut an issue or something and let the rest of the plan team contribute and ask questions as well, because we only have 6 of us.
Maybe there could be an iteration on an epic. You pick an epic.
Yeah.
And you iterate on an epic.
That's often how you scope those things too.
Do we have, like, can we scope, Simon, this is probably for you, can we scope iterations by something like that right now? Or would they have to be scope to, yeah, like how does, because if it's scope to our project, like GitLab org or GitLab org group.
They're limited to group and you can't overlap the dates. So you'd have to have a subgroup for your iterations.
Yeah.
Hence the groups and projects working group. Please join if you're interested in.
Yeah, so that's a good question though. For GitLab, GitLab org group, how will we use it? Or I'm assuming we should be within plan should be the ones that create the first bunch of iterations. Should we just go out and create like weekly iterations and then we can scope or we can add issues or, well, yeah, just issues for now to those iterations? Like, yeah, I wonder if that was his question.
Oh, maybe, yeah. We came all the way around to it. Yeah, that makes sense. And we should set the cadence and the bar. No other stage is going to use it for a while. So we can do that and then introduce the rest of GitLab to it once we are comfortable with it.
Can we define an iteration in like a subgroup or something? Like, can we like have a secret plan subgroup with iterations in it, and then pull existing issues from the wider group so we don't like pollute everyone else's workspace with our iterations?
I think that might be answered in the working group, right?
Yeah.
Because right now we scope everything by labels, which doesn't, and then we have our plan group where we kind of, like, we don't bring in issues from within the higher level GitLab org into that plan group. But, right, Justin, I think that'll.
Yeah, you're absolutely. Alex Pooey did a great job outlining last week how groups and projects, there's a lot of duplicate architecture in groups and projects today in the code. And so, yeah, in the future vision, that's, you would solve it that way, where you'd have a group is simply just a container of things, and that container can be really flexible. We can call it something different if we end up choosing to, but yeah. I guess in the interim, can we use a subgroup in the interim? And will that pollute? The answer is we're gonna have one iteration that all of GitLab sees.
Yes.
Yes. We're just gonna have to be okay with that, I think.
Yeah, because if we use a subgroup, we would have to pull the issues into that subgroup.
To that group.
Yeah, right.
To be able to add to it.
Yeah.
Which would be interesting. I don't think anyone does that.
Although I need to follow up with Jeremy. I saw Manage was doing something weird like that. Maybe, I don't know if any of y'all saw that, but they now have their own group and project, and there's issues in it. So I don't know if I'll go poke around more. I saw it flowing by in Slack earlier this week, and it piqued my interest, and then I got busy with something else. I'll go dig it up.
Like product related issues? They're not meta issues about the team?
It looked like straight up normal feature like stuff that engineers and PMs collaborate on. But I probably didn't dig enough to form a strong opinion on what it is. So let me go find what I saw, and I'll put it somewhere and share it around and see if it's something we want to emulate. But I guess
for the plan from the rest of GitLab. like the GitLab plan project.
This is literally the impetus of the groups and projects working group, because most organizations get to a scale and size. I think this is just a scale thing. Like I think it worked fine at GitLab for a long, long time because GitLab was small enough. But once an organization gets to a certain size, they decouple their repos from where their project management stuff is. And so you'll have a place that exists that captures all of a given group, however they organize themselves, issues, and then another place that captures their repos, whether that's a monolithic application or a service-oriented architecture. It's all there, but it's like decoupled, right? So it's the right time for us to start talking about how to do that in the product. It's just messy because there's a lot of GitLab that exists around groups and projects.
And labels.
And labels, yeah. Okay. Anything else?
Even with only 6 participants, we went the full hour,
It's quality
which is
time.
cool. I'm like, yeah, I agree.
Thank you
I
for
like
having
talking in these smaller
time.
groups.
Thanks for
Sorry.
having it in another time zone as well. Like, it's just, I know it's been said before, but it's so great to actually be able to talk to people in my team.
I love it. It's great. It's only, I mean, it's 7:30 my time, so it's really not that crazy. It's actually, to me, it's preferable than waking up at 6:30 in the morning for the non-APAC one.
And for me, Wednesdays are my APAC friendly time. Oh, I'm clicking my pen again. My APAC friendly time. So all my other meetings are all my late meetings are today anyway. So, but
Cool.
yeah, I thoroughly enjoy them.
Well, have a good day, everyone, and a good evening to you, Donald.
You too.
All right. See you.
To you all later.
Bye.